Hey guys, and welcome back to Smells Like Teen Angst. And today we are going to be diving into the new episode 4 of Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin.
I want to talk to you.
I did.
We're going to all talk together. As always, I have my friends here, Keiki and Jordan. Ladies, introduce yourselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Keiki.
So if you saw our video last week, we covered the first 3 episodes that dropped of Pretty Little Liars because, again, HBO hates us. But last week's cliffhanger, the girls were at Karen's funeral. We saw A staring at them from the car, which I figured they also saw A staring back. But, you know, they didn't really talk about it in this episode. Then it's the episode.
Well, the episode jumps forward by 2 weeks. So
it does, exactly. But we don't like even talk about it, which is weird. Because like the episode starts with a flashback to 1999. And Angela is smoking in the backyard with Marjorie, Noah's mom. And then she narcs on her when someone like comes and is like, who's smoking? And then we flash forward to Marjorie at the hospital getting a creepy teddy bear that also has drugs. And it's the same I'm sorry gift that she gave Angela. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's creepy. I love the creepy little nuggets. And as you said, Jordan, this episode now takes place 2 weeks after episode 3, which I was like, okay, we're not going to address anything. We're not going to address the fact that they were like having one of those like TikTok moments, like, I look at you, you look at me with A in the car. I didn't like that. I don't know what you guys thought.
I mean, on the one hand, it's worth they don't address it, but on the other hand, like it doesn't necessarily need to be addressed. We have other issues that we've got to get to. And I didn't want to spend 2 weeks watching them in detention because we've already done that for, you know, however many episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I appreciated that they gave us the move forward. I don't care about them in detention. Clearly nothing has happened. It's been silent on the A front. So we let it go. That's okay. And we learned that, you know, Homegirl's mom, she is literally the same person that she's always been.
Right? She's been blaming her shit on other people for a long time now.
Mm-hmm. It's time goes around, comes back around. It's time it got back to your ass, you know?
Mm-hmm. I liked that. It very much, like you said, Kiki, it shows who she is. She blames on narcs on her own daughter, blames on her, narcs on Abigail. That's not her name. Angela. I was like,
how are you watching?
I know, narcs and Angela, and also like A sends her like a bottle of pills. Like, girl, I know.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. For this week, last week we kind of did a big Mod Podge for the episodes. This week we're gonna kind of break them down by character. First, I want to talk about Mouse and her lack of anything in this episode. Literally, she just makes Halloween plans with Ash, and then like we never see her again.
I'm going through my notes right now, and I'm like, oh no, wait, that's it. That's all I have for Mouse. So yeah, not a Mouse heavy episode.
No, I was like, girl, I need a little bit more, like more Mouse. There's only 5 girls. Like,
there's only 5 girls. There's only 8 episodes.
Yeah,
I get it though. Coming from like a past PLL fan, some episodes don't center on everyone. Some episodes are just Arya episodes. Some episodes were just like Spencer episodes, you know? We focus in on and zero in on people's drama. And Mouse was drama free, and that's fine. She's got a man, they're making plans.
She's
I want that on a bumper sticker.
Right?
And I want that to be my life. I got a man and I'm making plans.
Put it on a t-shirt. Imogen is like trying to put the pieces together since in this like 2 weeks, she's making phone calls to former classmates. She finally got someone to call back, and that was sketchy. They were like, oh yeah, your mom. Oh no, Angela, goodbye.
Yeah, she's on the Angela Waters front like hunt, and no one is talking, and she is frustrated. And I mean, it gives us kind of like a little snoop into the whole situation. Like maybe there were more people involved in this original sin than we want to let in on.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna
We
play
might
some
be
nuggets.
introducing more people.
Exactly.
Whatever happened was big because literally everyone is super cagey about it. She calls a couple of people and they're all just like, I don't know what you're talking about, girl, and hang up on her, even though they clearly know what she's talking about.
Yeah. I mean, whose mom got a call and went directly to somebody's mom and was like, hey, your daughter's.
It was one of the adults that Imogen calls goes to Tabby's mom. And so Tabby comes back to Imogen, or Tabby's mom goes back to Imogen and is super pissed at her because also in the meantime, Tabitha's mom has been trying to sell Imogen's house on her behalf. She finds a couple who wants to buy the house. Imogen is there trying to clean up initially. The couple comes over. Imogen lies to them and says someone was murdered in the house. The couple backs out of the sale. And Tabitha's mom is like, listen, your mom owed people money. You need to sell this house so you can survive. Why would you block the sale? Why are you calling people about Angela Waters? Mind your business, child.
And it just makes Imogen more like ferocious in her hunt and wanting to know knowledge. I am really grateful that we're getting flashbacks between her and her mom because, you know, I really love Carly Pope and I didn't want her to be gone forever. Glad that we get those. But also let me just say, if someone told me someone was murdered in a house, I don't think it would deter me.
No.
Right. I think it would, I'm creepy, so it would just add to it.
At most, I would know that I'd be like, just let's knock 10 grand off the selling asking price. Thanks.
Yeah. And then I talk to my
bargaining
chip. Be like, girl, let me avenge you. Give me some clues. They didn't look into it. I'll look into it.
And speaking of talking to the ghost, that brings us to the next Imogen plot point.
Oh, hold on. I got to say this though. But isn't it illegal to not disclose if people die?
Depending on what state you're in. It depends on the state. In California, that's law, but that's not everywhere. And we don't know where the show is set. So
exactly. Like if you buy a home in Detroit, which I'm just going to say, Millwood is very Detroit adjacent. There are a lot of abandoned homes there, and they don't even know who originally owned them sometimes. The banks have gone bankrupt, which is crazy. And they become crack houses, and people die in them, and they eventually get sold to someone, and people just sweep it all under the rug, and they don't even think about the fact that their home probably housed many homeless who lost their life there.
That's good. All right, Jordan, what was the next Imogen point you wanted?
So the next Imogen plot point is that she convinces all the girls to come over after school so they can have a seance.
Yeah. And then she's just over here yelling at her mama like she's Zach Baggins. Like,
I know. It don't mean
Zach Baggins.
You know, if anyone watching this doesn't know who that man is, he's Ghost Hunters. Watch it. It's like the frattiest of Ghost Adventures, the frattiest.
I don't know how anybody wouldn't know that because I feel like and if you stay at a hotel, the only show that is available on that hotel is
always Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures and Guys Grocery Games. That's it.
And Cartoon Network. Those are the 3 channels you get at every hotel, and that is it.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that scene? I am a little torn on it. I like that it's kind of the beginning of them really bonding as friends, but then I also felt like it was very rushed.
I felt like they were quickly trying to let us know that there was going to be no magic type of celestial moment in here. Like, here it is, but really here it isn't. Like, she's doing this, but she's really just going to rant and lose her mind. And this is her way of kind of like expressing what she's been holding on to for weeks. And it was rushed.
I agree with you. The pacing was a little off. I could have used like 30 more seconds of it, but I will say she acted her little booty off in that when she went Zach Baggins, she committed. And it was, for a teen show, sometimes the acting is not always on par, but she was like, I'm going to get that Emmy tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she went for it for sure.
just to backtrack, when Imogen was in the house and packing up, I thought of you immediately, Jordan, because A is under the stairs ready to just grab Achilles.
Yeah, A is doing it again. We don't know why. Imogen is trying to pack up the house. I feel like she's a little bit too pregnant for all this, personally. I know, like, right, she's so pregnant. Usually they tell you, like, don't do a lot of physical whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, she finds her old journal, flashback to her mom talking about journals, goes and tries to find her mom's old journals, and all the Angela Water pages are missing.
Dum, dum, dum. But you know what? My brain directly went to A did that. And let me tell you why. Lifetime's new show, Frogging. It's people living in your house without you knowing. And I'm sure A is living up in that mofo. And he's covering, he, she, they, we don't know who they are, is covering their tracks.
You went a long way to get there, but I like it.
You are going to pay for your parents' sins and you're not going to know what they are.
Well, okay, but here's the thing.
Dishonor on you, dishonor on Cal, dishonor on all your ancestors.
I don't disagree with you because there's a thing that happens with the girls, and it felt like a continuity error to me. But it could be A doing crazy things.
Because A's living up in Imogen's house.
Exactly. In the walls and shit, under the stairs.
Can I tell you?
Like Brahms and the boy.
Frogging is my worst nightmare. I cannot watch this show that you're talking about on Lifetime because I've heard too many weird podcasts or like Reddit stories about this shit and it scares the bejesus out of me. Can you imagine somebody just like up in your house and you didn't know?
Yes, girl, because the layout of our apartment, an entire wall, I don't get because I'm like, what is there? It's not an apartment. Like there's no apartment through the wall, through my closet.
No, the mechanics to the garage and the elevator.
I don't believe that it needs to be that big, Sarah.
I read this book when I was in elementary school called
And I
The Woman
hear
in the
noises
Wall.
sometimes, and I think that there's just like someone in the wall.
I read this book in elementary school called The Woman in the Wall, and it was legit about a girl, like, well, when we were in elementary, like she was like, 15, whatever. Her mom gets remarried. She decides she doesn't like her stepdad, and she does just build a little annex for herself. And she was frogging. Makes me real nervous. I don't like it.
All right. Well, let's leave A and his frogging alone in Imogen's house, and let's talk about Tabitha. Something we actually forgot, and I texted you guys after we recorded last week, is that Tabitha is recording the boys in the boys' locker room. And I was like, girl, what is this about? And so with this, we see her going into the boys' locker room to retrieve the camera. And like, we don't fully know quite yet. Like, we get a lot of backstory for her and kind of her trauma in this episode. Cause like, she's getting the boys talking trash and she's trying to make, like, for school, she's getting an assignment where they have to recreate a iconic film scene. Right. And her whole perspective on it, I love. And it's kind of her way of working through what we kind of maybe sort of learn happened to her.
Sort of. Which we all kind of hinted at last week, actually.
Mm-hmm. I like that she chose Psycho, and I love the way that she's gender bending it. And I liked her speech in class because she's Kiki's making her own spooky moment. I love her speech in class. Where she's like, look, horror movies, it's all about men torturing women, murdering women, assaulting women. And she's like, it's time to flip the narrative because women are terrifying because we are sneaky.
I also just really loved that moment. Like, it was a very nice visual moment of her and Chip when they were presenting their story. And he draws that line through the chalkboard. Like, that was just a visually pleasing moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then you have, when they're filming the scene, Greg, who's Karen's ex-boyfriend. I guess it's not a widow because they weren't married. But
yeah, like, right. But it feels weird calling him an ex-boyfriend anyway.
Yeah. Like, he's just a douchebag. Like, all of those guys are douchebags. She's like, wear the Speedo. He's like, no, this is better. And she's like, this is literally assault. You don't understand what you're doing. And Tabitha has like a freak out, and then she goes outside and she's seeing flashes of a bonfire. And that whole speech she gives Greg too about like, oh, you're a woman. She gave you wine, but she didn't have any. You feel like you've been drugged. And I feel like that's what happened to her.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. We were talking about that last week with the scene with her and creepy manager man, Wes, where we all were like, oh my God, what did she get roofied right now? And she just bolted.
Exactly. It all ties together. And so I'm like, is this why she's filming the locker room? Not to be a voyeur, not to be creepy, but she's hoping in this shitty locker room talk, she'll hear a confession.
Right? She's looking for clues.
Yeah, it could be. She could be on her own hunt. And Tabby's scrappy, you know? She's gonna put the pieces together. We all need that person and character in a show like this, but and this is an overall issue with the series, it's feeling so disjointed where I can't clue in as to what anyone is doing or what mission anyone is on. And
that's
what their like qualm is with the world, you know? All these people
the thing. It's moving a little bit too fast. And I don't even mean the length of the episodes, just the way that the episodes are edited. And we had a very similar complaint about Riverdale, where you're getting 30 seconds with each character, where it's like, I need 90 seconds. You guys are dropping all these hints about Tabitha's backstory and her trauma. And then later, you know, we get a little bit of Mouse and a little bit of Noah. How many episodes did it take us to find out that, oh, Noah got arrested because it was her mom, right? Like, you get these little nuggets and you know that the girls are going through things, but it's not satisfying and it's just confusing. It's confusing.
I agree.
Yeah, and I feel like Noah's the only one that we constantly follow up on.
That's true.
And it's really weird because the way it's shot, Imogen and Tabby are kind of the center of the show most of the time.
Right.
So just like, why is their story so but you're giving me all these other characters who have little or no involvement with them. Like in this episode, everyone was back on their bullshit after detention and they were not kicking it, you know?
Right.
Didn't have to ask for a whole ass seance to get all the girls back together again.
Yeah.
So these girls, you know, they're not like the original cast where they were friends at some point and have that type of connection. And we've learned so far that all of their mothers were like evidently involved in this in the past. So, you know, how does a group of girlfriends apparently have a pregnancy pact and all end up with babies?
Right, the same age.
That's what I said last week. How were they all best friends in high school? They all have their kids at the same time and none of the kids know each other. What did they make a we're not going to talk to each other anymore pact? And if so, could the showrunners have told us that earlier, please and thank you?
That's a really great question. Like, did they purposefully keep their kids from each other, you know?
And that's what I'm leaning towards. That's what makes the most sense. But we don't know. We're not going to know because they're spoon feeding us.
Yeah. And this show is done by Roberto, who does Riverdale. So I feel like that's why it's that same vibe of too short, not sitting in it. Why I felt the seance scene was so quick and it could have been a really great moment. And then you have like fake ass Faran who's like, oh yeah, we'll be here for you. Like
Faran's not fake. I take offense to that.
I just say, I was like, that was the like least like warm person in that moment. So I was like, but speaking of Faran, she's next on my list. And Jordan also immediately thought of you because Faran is going down the same hole that you wanted to stay away from about I know what you did last summer, twin switch.
That's what, when she started, I was like, I called it last week. It's a twin swap. I fucking called it.
But I do like that they're not landing on it. Like there's a lot of red herrings. It could go either way.
Right? Yeah.
At this point, like Kelly is taking Karen's dance locker. You know, Faran gets the lead taken from her, or not yet. She doesn't get the lead taken from her. She's told she has to like practice more, otherwise she's going to have it taken from her. And she gets paired with Kelly. But then that weird conversation with Kelly where she says things to her that Karen has said to her. And that's what sends her down this like
spirally rabbit hole of this is not who it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I get too much
and then,
Karen from the Kelly.
And she's like, she's venting to her Dance Bay, and Dance Bay is like, you need to give Kelly a chance to train you because she's so good now. It's almost like dancing with Karen.
Oh, I know. And then I like that, like, Faran then goes on this like whole hunt on social media to find photos to see like if one of them has a weird birthmark or something, you know, because she's like, we got to find out like this. And then she remembers the razors that were in her shoes. Mm-hmm. Like that would have sliced her feet up in a certain way. And
that was Karen, not Kelly.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if she sees her feet, she'll be able to prove if it's Kelly or if it's Karen because of the razors in her shoes.
I'm coming down on the side of this is just a big red herring to keep us invested, and it has nothing to do with the main mystery. Because at the end of the day, what would the twin swapping places have to do with the main mystery?
It's very true. Yes.
Yeah, it would just be a weird side mystery. I think all the girls are just two in their head. They're being, you know, they have this whole A thing going on and they're just confused. And so they're just paranoid about everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I do like going down this rabbit hole though.
Oh, I do too. It's fun.
But I don't disagree. So let's talk about Noah, who has the biggest cliffhanger, has kind of the biggest storyline in this episode. As we know, she's trying to get back into shape for track. She's only got a few more days.
Did we know she ran track before this episode?
I believe it was mentioned in like the first one with her boyfriend and stuff. And
okay.
Yeah. But I think it was like in passing. I don't think it was like a big thing. The sheriff and her, like the sheriff is freaking ballsy for her having this like very serious accusation that she could make towards him. Like just threatening her constantly, showing up at her house to do like unscheduled house calls. I'm like, bro.
I really can't stand this guy. Like, I really can't stand. You know, sometimes when a show goes too far trying to make a bad guy, that's what they're doing right now. He is too annoying.
Pretty deep. Like, he's going super duper far to a point where it feels incredibly illegal. So I'm just like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know cops do bad things and, you know, a cab all day, but this is real far.
I was like, this guy's, she's like, that's to help me sleep. He's like, what is this? You know,
magnesium? Like,
yeah, it just helps me sleep. Like, she's like, to call the nurse. And he's like, okay. But I just think that's real ballsy because all she has to do is be like, I know who that little boy was.
Right.
That was in the car with you.
I saw your homie.
Saw your homie, bro. I blew up your life. So I don't know why he's like gotten so wild.
Because she was a part of the pack of girls that killed his daughter, and he's not letting it go, even though he
didn't even like his kids. Let's start there.
I know. Let's start there. He
didn't
was
like his damn kids.
You're a loser and you're not a winner type of dad.
Yeah. He's like, no participation trophies, dad. But also like they didn't.
He's a Ricky Bobby. If you went first class.
Anywho, so Noah is the first one to get a text from A for the first time in 2 weeks. And it says she never learns her lesson. Mommy was going to throw you under the bus again, just like Angela Waters. And I was like, ooh, tying it back to the flashback in the beginning and the teddy bear. Because then she goes and finds the pills. She's like, they're not even under her name. So like, it's not a pill for her back. And then she's like, you know what's going to make me feel better? Pizza, just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. So I really loved this entire sequence because she's like goes to get the pizzas, like, so my car's running, so just come get it. And so she gets there, the window's been smashed, the pizza's on the ground, because at first I was like, oh, it's A, and then no, there really was a pizza there. And then she's trying to go back to her room and A's trying to sneak in, like break into her front door, sees her, chases her through the building to the rooftop. Y'all, what would you have done? Would you have tried to hop from roof to roof, or would you have tried to jump down?
Listen, I'm not a track star. Noah's a track star, so there's a difference. You talk about Jordan. Jordan would have been like, just come fucking fight me then, bro, because I'm not running.
Exactly.
My knees are old. Just come fight me, bitch. I got old knees. Noah, however, is 17 years old. She's fast as shit. So go ahead and jump across that building, girl. You got this.
Yeah, I'd faster fight than flight, but I mean, girl got hops, real Michael Jordan wings, okay?
One thing that bothers me consistently about most horror movies, I would say, except for Scream, is that why does every killer move like they got sciatica and are in the middle of a flare-up? Noah's running for her life, and A is walking behind her like Frankenstein monster. Like,
oh man,
insane.
It's the truth.
I'm crying. That's so fucking funny.
Also, this is her building, and I thought it was real surprising when she was running down the hallway knocking on the door that she just didn't know anyone or have like a safety apartment to go to. I mean, I feel like everywhere I've lived, I've known at least one person who I could knock on their door and be like, there's a murder in my house, let me in.
And there was also a moment where it seemed like she was confused about the layout. And I'm like, every woman knows their building. Every woman, because we've all listened to too many true crime podcasts, so we know our fucking building.
Yeah, in a case of an apocalypse too, like if the zombies are coming, I need to know how to barricade this bitch.
I'll give her that she's a teenager. She's like 16, 17, however old they are.
Yeah.
That maybe she just hasn't gotten there yet, but now she will. She learned today.
We hear A speak.
We do. It's the first time. And that is a husky man.
That's a husky voice.
But it could have distortion, which is something we were always thrown at in the original Pretty Little Liars. And we were also given the fact that A was always multiple people. So
I definitely
there's some moments where I'm like, this is a big man. And then there's some moments where I'm like, is that a woman?
Oh, I think they're going to pull the A is multiple people thing on us for sure. Because one thing, if you look at the credits when it's A, that body looks smaller and moves like a woman in the credits. In the show, it seems more like a husky man. And then there are other things that have happened where I'm like, ain't no way, unless that woman is a bodybuilder. Ain't no way.
The way he picked her up like that, you know what I mean? Like, no.
She got to be bodybuilding and setting traps for people that she's trying to get revenge on.
And like what he says to her, she's like, why are you doing this? Like what do you want from me?
What are you waiting
for? He said, punish the guilty. And her ankle bracelet's going off because she left her house after, her time frame. And she calls the hospital and turns in her mom. And I'm like, why? Was he going to murder you? Was he going to murder her mom? Like you just said, punish the guilty. That doesn't mean to me turn in your mother.
I'm saying. They could have just been in a standoff because he wasn't going to jump across that building. So she could have just stayed there.
Exactly. I was like, is he going to jump?
Right. Come and get me.
I was like, the cops are going to come get her. Yeah. Because she's crossed the line on her monitor. So cops will show up and she could talk about the window and that someone is after her. And may seem a little crazy, but again, they do track the ankle monitor. They're going to see the pizza. They're going to see the glass, So it's like you had all the excuses in the world, girl, to call and just wait for the cops to come because A is going to get the hell out of there. But instead, you picked up that phone and you snitched on your mom. So part of you wanted that revenge in my mindset, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's revenge. I think it's freedom of that burden. How much of a burden is it as a child to have to be the parent?
Exactly. It's hard. And also having her already gone down the addiction spiral with her mom and receiving this, I'm clean, I'm doing better, I'm moving on, I'm trying thing over and over again. She's allowed to have a final straw. So
yeah, that's hurt. That's heartbreak.
I feel like that's a little bit motivated there. Like she kind of did it because she deep down wanted to do it too.
So episode 4 ends with Noah letting the girls know that A is back and that he wanted to they wanted to punish her mom for what they did to Angela Waters. And everyone's like, oh, Angela Waters is a big deal. So, theories. I know
we've been new.
Huh?
I said, but we've been new. Angela Waters is a big deal, y'all. We knew.
I know. like with the calls, like everyone being so sketchy on the phone calls, the Tabitha's mom yelling at Imogen, and now it being like super official with the texting. Like now the girls really know, you know, because I think that they were able to brush it off a little bit, and now this was really the episode that solidified that they need to figure this out.
I also feel like with the use of Noah, it's kind of letting us know that like A is going to get her flowers and she doesn't care if she has to use the kids to get it. It's either stay out of my way or become a part of this type of situation, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just now really excited to see what everyone else's parent did.
Right?
You know?
Exactly. Well, didn't we have a parent swap between Faran?
Yeah, her dad. It's like her mom's not even there.
Yeah.
So her mom wasn't involved. So we got to find out what she did to Angela. We have to find out what Imogen's mom did to Angela, Tabitha's mom, and Mouse's mom.
Exactly.
They all did something.
I'm waiting to see what this runaway thing is.
The what thing?
Her mom running away, you know, for the new job.
Oh, Faran's mom. Yeah. I'm ready. I have no idea who A is, and I'm fine with that.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
So we'll see. Well, that's all my notes for episode 4. Ladies, do you have anything else that you want to talk about with Pretty Little Liars Original Sin episode 4?
I'm way into it. I'm way more into it than I thought I would be. So, you know, congrats, HBO Max. Congrats.
I actually think this like was my favorite episode so far. I think it's a very strong, where most shows kind of waver in the middle. I think it actually got stronger with this middle episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get your fears in so many different ways, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's the frogging fears, it's the being chased, it's the being found out, it's the being molested and or accosted. It's so many different fears in one.
Yeah.
It makes high school seem like a really scary place.
I mean, it is a scary place. Girls are mean, guys. Girls are mean, and that's all I gotta say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Until next time, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think of this episode of Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, and we will see you guys next week for episode 5. Bye.